another edition of our Thursday night's class. Oh. Tonight's class is sponsored by two young wonderful boys, Nisan ben Miriam and Yosef ben Leah. For Hatzlacha and everything, especially in their tests. You should be valedictorian in all you do. Amen. Not that you have to be, but it should be. It should come easy. Last week we read Parashat Naso, and now Ba'alotcha. There's a lot going on. And if you look especially in the Torah Chassidut, they talk about this week in an interesting way. They call it the ninth week. Ninth week, that sounds like some sort of, I don't know, show or something. Like, well, that's the ninth week. So they say an interesting thing, that during Sfirat HaOmer we have 7 weeks. That is the 7 weeks that we spoke about the preparation for Matan Torah. Then the 8th week is considered, Matan Torah itself is the wedding between God and Am Yisrael. So what do you do after the night you get married? You have 1 week that's called Sheva Brachot. So that's the 8th week. The 9th week is when the honeymoon's over. Is when real life starts. So they say an amazing thing. It's very smart. It's very deep. They say during Sfirat HaOmer, a person's preparing. A lot of times when you prepare for something, your preparations don't always work right. Try to cook something, it doesn't always come out perfect the first time. Sometimes you got to redo it. Or you can make the perfect cake batter, the perfect whatever, you put it in the oven, you forgot it a minute too long because you're on the phone, and boom, burnt. Now we got to start again. But by the time Matan Torah comes, like Baruch Hu says, I give it to everybody anyway. You tried, I give it to you. It doesn't make a difference. So everybody gets that wedding night. Then the Sheva Brachot, the Shivat Yemei Miluim, they're called in Chazal. That's also something that we kind of get gifted to us because it's an automatic. A wedding brings along with it a Sheva Brachot. Once 7 days after Shavuot go by, that's when a person first gets tested to see did Matan Torah make a difference to him or not. So it means on the 8th day after Shavuot was where the 9th week began. That's why Kosh Baruch Hu comes to see, is the wedding going to last or do we have to go for marriage counseling already? What's going on? And Baruch Hashem, Yisrael Kedoshim, I'm sure everybody feels the great accomplishments that we had throughout this thing. But 9 is not a coincidental number. It's not just the 9th week, obviously. Chazal Kedoshim teach us Chotamo Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and Borei Olam seals. What is his name? When he has to sign. Today when we sign a paper, so we either sign our name or we don't even do that. We just scribble. So God also signs things. He has a seal. Chotamo Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When he has to sign his name, what does he write? God has many, many names. So Chazal teaches us, Chotamo Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Emet, is truth. The seal of God is truth. And that's why we say in the Pasuk, Or Zarua la Tzadik, the light that's planted for the righteous, is Yishrei Lev, is the fact that they're straight people, Yashar, honest people. And as a result, Simcha, they could be happy because the ultimate Simcha comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's a quick synopsis of what should be elaborated on one day, b'li neder. Why is Chotamo Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu Emet? So the simple answer is very simple. Chot v'cha Emet, because Hashem is the ultimate truth. But could be there's a lot more going on over here. Al derech haremes, the Sfarim bring down already years ago, that in Gimatriot there's 2 types, there's many types, not 2, there's many types of Gimatriot. One is the simple way we know it, Aleph 1, Bet 2, and so on. And then there's something called Mispar Katan, which really is very simple. It's the number of the numeric value, but we don't count zeros. So let's say Taf, which would be 400, we consider as 4. Or Shin, 303, and so on. So they say Chotamo, the seal of God is Emet. Aleph is 1, Mem 40 is 4, that's 5. Taf 400 is also 4, that's 9. 9 is the only number in the world that no matter how you multiply it, it always stays 9. 2 times 9 is 18, 1 and 8 is 9. 3 times 9 is 27, 2 and 7 is 9. 9 times 9 is 81, 1 and 8 is 9. And go up to any number you want and you'll see that that's the way it comes out. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not just emet, it's kayam la'ad. It's forever, it's eternal. So he seals, when he seals something, you should know this over here is something that's an eternal thing. This is very important to talk about and to remind ourselves about. Last week in the parasha we read Birkat Kohanim. How many blessings are there in Birkat Kohanim? 7. Why? It's exactly to resemble the Sheva Brachot that we're in the middle of during Birkat Kohanim. Alright, we read Parashat Naso after Shavuot. Bamidbar is before Shavuot, so Naso is right after Shavuot. To resemble that Sheva Brachot, you make 7 blessings. So this is what goes on. Hashem gives us a variation of the 7 blessings after the holiday of Shavuot. What are the 7 blessings? Yivarechecha Hashem, God's going to bless you. That's number 1. Yishmerecha is the second blessing. He'll watch over you. Ya'er Hashem panav elecha. And really, if you think about it, by the way, I don't want to give a marriage class tonight, but if you pay close attention, the whole key to a successful marriage is in these psukim. It's true. The whole key to, when you bless somebody, what does it mean? That you're grateful to them, that you appreciate and so on. What's a spouse's ultimate job in life? And this is where a lot of people unfortunately fail. If your wife says one thing and your father says another thing, even if your father's right and your wife's wrong, you have to side with your wife. V'yishmerecha, you have to protect her. Even if she made no sense. Afterwards you'll figure it out. But in the meantime, you always, and lo aleinu v'lo alechem, and we see so many times that it happens a different way. And it causes a lot of damage. That's yishmerecha, the second blessing to have a normal marriage in life. Ya'er Hashem panav elecha, Ya'er is he'll lighten up. That's one way of translating it. And then ha'ara. But that's we'll use the shallow Hebrew way to say Ya'er Hashem panav elecha, Hashem will shine His face to you. We know that one of the keys is in life in general. The Gemara says, "Malbin shinayim lechavero yoter mimashkeu chalav." If somebody does one of two things, either he gives somebody who's thirsty and is desperate to drink milk, to drink something to give him chiyut, to give him some life, or he smiles to him. Which one is greater? Now, of course, if a guy's dying, it's more important now to feed him, so you should be able to smile to him. Otherwise, there'll be nobody to smile to. But assuming that both can be accomplished, if you did both actions, through smiling to a person, you obtain much more than everything else that you can possibly do. I think there's some sort of English quote, I don't remember from who, that a smile is a short curve that straightens out all the problems. Ya'er Hashem panav eilecha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that He's going to give a person ha'arat panim. And for that, again, this is the Sheva Brachot. We teach ourselves that within the context of a marriage, if you come home with a face of Chab'av, so the house is going to be Chab'av. But if you come home with a smile, even if in the house it's not so good right now because there's stress and other issues, but still the smile has a certain benefit to it that ends up straightening a lot of problems. V'yichuneka, choneinu Hashem choneinu. There's a certain mercy, an element of mercy that comes, a pardoning in the word v'yichuneka. Forgiveness is the foundation of any successful relationship in this world. Yisa Hashem panav eilecha. That's the 5th blessing. Yisa Hashem panav eilecha. Now, that I would have to say a separate shiur to explain how that pertains to relationships. V'yasem lecha shalom. That's not the end, but that's the 6th blessing. And it'll give you peace. Now, the only place that blessing dwells is where there's peace, so obviously it has to be that way. But then there's another bracha. By the way, if you remember if you're married from your chuppah, or if you attended the chuppah, then in the world at large, what's considered the most respectable honor to give somebody under the chuppah? So what really is different. What really is to give him to be an ed kiddushin. Maybe we correct this once and for all. Why? A lot of people, you go to their chuppah, and after the end of the night, they're not married. Because they gave an ed kiddushin, they gave people to be witnesses for the kiddushin, that are not shomer negiyah, that are not shomer Shabbat, that are this. It doesn't work like that. What do we think today is so honorable to give? Which rabbi is going to marry me off? That's the least important part. Technically, you can't do it, but in theory, a robot could do it for you. Well, what's the honor in that? That he knows that he says a blessing, that he makes a nice ceremony. A cantor could do that. There's an amazing story. I'm battling within myself if I should use both names or only one. But my great Rosh Yeshiva, Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach Zatzal, once showed up to a wedding. Why not? He said it with a name. I could say it with a name. That one of the chief rabbis of Israel named Goren was there. And they gave Rav Shlomo Zalman to be the Mesader Kiddushin. And they gave Goren to be an Ed Kiddushin. Rav Shlomo Zalman held that with Goren's Ashkafa, he might not be a kosher witness. Now, he's already in Shamayim. We're not talking about people. That's not the point. So Rav Shlomo Zalman didn't know what to do. To embarrass a Jew, he wouldn't embarrass him even though he was against everything he believed in to a crazy extreme. But at the same time, he wanted his student to have a kosher wedding. So Shlomo Zalman, with his humility, here's the Gdol Ador, here's a guy who whatever happened to get nominated politically. He goes over to God and he tells him, listen, they gave me to be Mesadeh Kiddushin. And they gave you to be an Eid Kiddushin. The big kavod is to be the Mesadeh Kiddushin. That's the celebrity of the show. To be an Eid, that's just another guy. You're not even alone. There's another one. He says, you're the chief rabbi. You're the big shot. I don't feel comfortable being Mesadeh Kiddushin. It's your job. You're the one who deserves it. So therefore, let's switch. And we're not going to tell anybody. We're going to surprise everybody. He was scared if he'll tell a student, the student won't agree. But he didn't want to explain to the student why he's doing this. So let's switch. I'll be the Eid Kiddushin, I'll be the witness, and you'll be the Mesadeh Kiddushin. I wasn't there, so I can't tell you, but I'm assuming Goa never felt as good like that as his life. Shlomo Zalman was giving up Siddur Kiddushin for him. Little did he understand what Shlomo Zalman was trying to accomplish. To say the bracha under the chuppah, to be Mesadeh Kiddushin, big deal. But a person's Eidei Kiddushin, that's the most important. That's what his Kiddushin really depends on. And I have many Gdolei Yisrael that I had that's a merit to be close to. Talk about Torah giants. They never agreed to be witnesses under a chuppah. Myself included, not that I'm a Gdol Torah, but never, no matter what. Because they always suspected on themselves, maybe I'm not on the level that I'm a kosher Eid, maybe not 100% perfect, and then it's not worth it. You're playing around with somebody else's whole life, somebody else's whole Kiddushin. It's not worth it. There's no price that's worth doing it. But then, in the world at large, after Siddur Kiddushin, what do they consider the next honorable thing to do? Is the last of the 7 brachot. Bracha Chrita, they call it. The last bracha of the 7 brachot under the chuppah. All brachot are the same, there's no real difference, but I guess because it's longer and it ends the ceremony, so for some reason that's nicer. It wouldn't be a bad idea if we would correct the next stupidity that we have today, that we give it to Chazanim. Take a Talmid Chacham, Yerei Shamayim, he's giving you a blessing for your whole life. Some Chazan that sings mixed 5 minutes later, what type of bracha is that going to be? Where's that going to get you in Shamayim? It doesn't work. He sings the last bracha at 9 o'clock p.m. and at 10 o'clock p.m. by your own wedding, not by you, God forbid, by somebody at Tinok Shenishba's wedding, you sing some Ayal Golan song. It doesn't work like that. So then what's left of the bracha? The whole thing's a joke. Take a Talmid Chacham, Yerei Shamayim, somebody who could really, that his power in Shamayim is to bring you down a blessing that'll last you for life. So after Birkat Kohanim, after you have Semel Shalom, we have the 7th bracha. What's the 7th bracha? The 7th bracha is a bracha that Va'ani avarachem, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I myself will make sure that these blessings work for you, that they bless you. So the bracha Chrita, the 7th blessing, God Kilu took for himself the most respectable bracha, Va'ani avarachem, even though Yivachah Hashem, the whole thing is God blessing, but still, as in a symbolic way, he went and did it that way. Interesting. Okay, so the Sheva Brachot's over, then you go into the 9. You go into the eternity. I think the 9th week also in the Chassidut is really trying to resemble to a person that don't say that we go to sleep the morning after Shavuot and wake up Rosh Hashanah for Slichot. That doesn't work like that. The whole idea of Shavuot was that something should last from it. Okay, that's going backwards. Now, let's go forwards. The parasha we read last week, that was the parasha of after Shavuot. The Torah writes in the pasuk, an interesting thing, Naso et rosh bnei kahat, lift up, count, whatever, however you want to consider it, the family of Kahat, the children of Kahat. But now, that's in Bamidbar. In Bamidbar, the Torah says about the family of Kahat. By Alice in Parashat Naso last week we read, Naso et rosh bnei Gershom, gam him. Lift up the family of Bnei Gershom, gam him. Now, pay attention to the difference. When it came to Bnei Kahat, it said just Naso, the children of Kahat. When it came to the children of Gershom, the Torah added on 2 more words, gam him, them also. In the Torah there's no extra word, just the opposite. Even words of connection, ve'et and that, every time it says et, there's a special drasha on a 2-letter word. Vadai, for sure, we don't add on extra words, gam him, to add on 2 whole extra words in the Torah when it's not necessary. And it's not only not necessary. If there's a reason to say it that way, so what about the other brothers? Kahat, we already said. But then afterwards the Torah continues and says, by Bnei Merari, it says, Bnei Merari mishpachotam, tifkidem, count them. It doesn't say gam him. So Dafka Gershon, only Gershon, we added on these words, gam him. This is a very famous question. In the Achronim it's asked countless times in different ways. And there's unbelievable stories, like unbelievable different stories on Pshatim and Meshalim, each one in his way, to be able to answer it. I want to say over, not mine, from Rav Zuz Shahorowitz, the Bezdin of Kal Chasidim. He's alive. Hashem should give him a long life and a healthy life. Be'ez Hashem, big Talmid Chacham, big person. I get a lot of chizuk from either reading or listening to different things that he says in his shiurim, who said an unbelievable pshat. And he gave his own mashal to the story. So one day there was a young kid who was a little bit of a troublemaker in school. So today a troublemaker equals two things, therapy and Ritalin. But there was a generation that was still normal, and it didn't automatically mean that we have to make everybody drugged up. And they would try other things. What's the Torah's way to be able to sometimes benefit by helping a child? Bribery. So his children, because right, if Moshe Rabbeinu would be pasul for Dayan if they bribed him, so that means bribery works. Moshe Rabbeinu, if you gave him $5, he couldn't say the halakha for you anymore. Obviously, that's the number one thing that works. So he said, if that's the case, you have a kid who's not behaving so well, so try to bribe him first. If it would work on Moshe Rabbeinu, Kal V'chomer is going to work on a little kid. That's where this whole idea comes from of, behave, I'll give you a lollipop. It's a Torah idea. It's not an easy way out idea. It's an actual idea in the Torah. So his parents came to bribe him. But this was a kid already who had big musagim. So they offered him a toy, no, this, no, what does he want? So he says he's willing to behave till the end of the year, he's going to do it, he's going to try hard, even though it's hard for him and everything. But he wants a special present. So his mother said the whole year she's getting at him, this is no problem, what's the present? He said, I have grandparents in Israel, I want the summer to go visit my grandparents in Israel. That's all. I want to go visit my grandparents in Israel in the summer. That's not bad, they figured anyway we pay for camp. Ticket to Israel is cheaper than camp. Well, the kid might not know that, but that's the fact. He wants to go to Israel in the summer and he'll behave all year. What could be better? And it's a spiritual thing and that. No? Beautiful, why not? They tell him, you got a deal. So he says, but I'm young, how am I going to fly? They said, don't worry, you could get somebody in the airport, and if not, you're a big boy. We'll fly you El Al, a Jewish airline, everything's going to be fine. You go. We promise you a word to word, in the summer you're going to Israel. Okay. Most of us, or many of us, were on flights in the past week or two. Myself at least, I was on 3 today alone. That's literal. And so you know that when they board, so that in the US they pre-board military personnel, that's a respect thing, but also what's the other announcement? Anybody who needs special assistance, like if somebody is, God forbid, handicapped or whatever, or young children, women and young children, in order to, it makes the process easier. That they're not doing out of chesed, that they're doing out of just a technicality, that it makes more sense logistically. This kid comes to the airport, his parents are with him by check-in, they give him his boarding pass and his passport, they take him all the way to the TSA line, and they tell him, here, you go through there, look for number C20, B25, whatever it is in El Al in Terminal 4, wait there, as soon as you hear they say, whoever's a child, come onto the plane, go onto the plane, Shalom Yisrael. Now the airlines have an unbelievable thing, marketing strategy. Not all airlines do it, but many do. That when you go onto the plane, even if you're sitting on row 59 in the back, you walk through the front. Why? Because they want your eyes to come out, to see all these big seats in first class and business class, so maybe next time you'll think that you'll actually pay the extra money because you want to be one of them. This kid walks onto the plane through the front, he's walking through first class, and from the corner of his eye he sees in the back what's going on. And he says to himself, I'm going to go in the back. I'm a kid, right? I'm going to sit over there in the back. What do I need to sit over there in the back? I'm sitting up front. I'm not one of those. I'm sitting here. Then he says, but wait, they're not going to let me just sit here. So he figures out a solution. The footrest goes up. He's a small kid. He lifts up the footrest and he goes hiding under the footrest, thinking everybody will go onto the plane. And then he'll sneak out of there and he'll be able to keep the seat. Little did he know aviation doesn't work that way exactly. All right. It's the end of boarding. Boarding closed, doors closed. He looks up from under his footrest to see if anybody's in the chair or he's okay. He's in good shape. There's nobody there. Plan worked. He has the seat. But he doesn't get a chance to crawl out from his little hiding spot. And he's a yeshiva boy. He has tzitzis dangling. His tzitzis was there on the floor. Flight attendant walks by and sees tzitzis sticking out from under the seat. He says, I know for El Al has to accommodate the religious, but they started putting tzitzit on the chairs too. This is already exaggerated. So he bends down to see. Sees a kid hiding under there. This is crazy. Grabs the kid. He pulls him out. He says, what are you doing here? Now the kid doesn't know what to do with himself. He got away with it the whole boarding process, and now what's he going to do? And he starts stuttering. Finally the guy tells him, I'm not going to argue with you. Just give me your boarding pass. Let me see where you belong. He gives him his boarding pass. The boarding pass says seat 3A. Exactly the seat he was hiding under. His parents bought him a first class ticket. They just forgot to notify him. So here he's hiding in order to be there. Reality, this was his all along. He says, so why are you under there? Why don't you sit on the top? And the kid looks at the flight attendant and he says, I'm sorry, I didn't know I could sit on the top. I was trying to figure out a way to get to the top. I didn't know that this was possible. No, sounds like a good mashal. But in reality, what is li'inyaneinu anu? What does this have to do with us? So sometimes a person hears the word Hashem and he says, I want to go hiding. God, it's so scary and that, what's going to be? And he goes hiding. But deep down in the neshama, a person's soul is a chedek elok avimal. It's part of Hashem. He wants to be in first class. He wants to close to Hashem. At a certain point, God wants to take him out of hiding. So he takes him out of hiding and he says, what are you hiding from? Number one, there's no way to hide from me. Anami panecha evrach. Where exactly I could hide? The Torah teaches us, imesak shamayim, if we're going to go up to the heaven, shamata, you're there. Wherever I go, God, you're everywhere, there's nowhere to hide. But in the young, immature mind, sometimes a person does think he could hide. One day, one boy asked me if al pi halacha he's doing something good. I said, what? He said he took upon himself that he's only going to use his phone in his bedroom on Shabbat. I said, not by the dining room table, only in his bedroom. I said, al pi halacha to use a phone on Shabbat, cell phone is definitely nisud Rabbanan, according to Chazon Ish nisud Oraita. So you're not doing the right thing. So I'm not going to lie to you and tell you you're doing the right thing. But the good news is I don't know how many hours you're capable of being locked up in your bedroom, so at least a few hours you keep Shabbat. That's also a benefit. And then I told them there's also another piece of good news, that you don't prove to be an idiot. Some people today, they prove to be idiots every Friday night again. They make Kiddush, v'shavru b'nei Yisrael Shabbat, and 3 minutes later they're on their phone. Which one is it? Is it Shabbat or is it your phone? Pick your choice. It's not both. It's like a guy comes to his house Friday afternoon and he's a good husband, he was taught well. He brings his wife a huge bouquet of flowers in a nice, gorgeous vase, walks in, honey, I'm home. The flowers, I can't even see his face. And then he tells her, where are we eating tonight? She says, by my mother. He just hears by my mother, he takes the whole flowers, throws it on the floor. Mishuggah, so what'd you buy her flowers for? If you can't even respect her, why are you buying her flowers? That's the guy who makes Kiddush and then turns on his phone. But I'm not judging, God forbid, because most people are very innocent. I said here once, I think it was 2 years ago after Lag BaOmer, that I saw a story that it was other people would have looked at it negative. I looked at it as one of the most beautiful things in the world. I was thinking to myself, if Rabbi Yitzchak Baditcher was alive, what he would do with such a thing. I was by the kotel praying Netz Shacharit Shabbat, but it was the Shabbat before Lag BaOmer 2 years ago, and it was we were praying in a minyan with Rav Yaakov Yagen. That's a minyan that's more inside, and it's a much smaller minyan because it's a very long Shacharit. Most people don't have patience. There was one guy who later on I figured out is a French person that made Aliyah to Israel, but that doesn't make a difference, who was there. I'll tell you what, if I had to pick who was the rabbi there, I would have picked him. His Tfilat Shmoneh Esrei and his thing, I felt like a non-religious junior. I felt totally off. Such a kavanah, such a unreal. Ken Kriyat Torah. I'm sitting there on a chair, it was a long prayer, Shacharit Ba'avadis, he drags it out. I'm sitting on a chair with a chumash, trying to listen, follow along. This guy's standing right by the Sefer Torah. He's holding on to the Sefer Torah, listening to every word. I said, maybe just one of the Lamed Vav Tzadikim. I was just waiting for Musaf to be over to go get a blessing. Suddenly it's the middle of Kriyat Torah and his cell phone rings. I didn't make a big deal out of it. I figured he's a doctor. A lot of doctors have cell phones on Shabbat. They have to. It's Pikuach Nefesh. So I was waiting for him to pick up and say, Dr. So-and-so, right? That's what I was expecting. And to walk to the side. He doesn't walk to the side. He picks up and loud that everybody hears. And only us, minyanim near us. He says, Mami, kama pamim amarti lach lo litkasher alai Shabbat baboker be'emtza tefillah? How many times I tell you not to call me Shabbat morning in the middle of the prayers? And he hangs up angry the phone. So here he's kissing the Sefer Torah. So a negative person would say, look, what a low life, how stupid he is. No, just the opposite. The poor guy, Nebuch, nobody taught him. He probably grew up in France somewhere that there wasn't yeshivot, I don't know what. And they didn't, some areas have beautiful yeshivot there, but some areas don't. Maybe he grew up in the Muslim quarter. And Nobody taught him. But a Sefer Torah, that he knows. And Shacharit, that he knows. And he has the patience to sit there and daven Shemona Esrei and this and that. And to me, I was waiting to see Rav Yaakov Yagen's response. He didn't respond. Didn't say, no, ma, nothing. Stayed quiet. He paused till the guy finished his call and he continued to Kriyat Torah, you know. I guess he also felt that I'm guessing, I don't know this for sure, that there's somebody with a big neshama here and there's no point to push him far away, let's bring him closer. But for the intellectual mind who does think, that doesn't make sense, a story like that. That's crazy. Make up your mind. If it's Shabbat, keep your phone at home. And if it's not Shabbat, then which one is it? It's not, now I'm in the mood of this, tomorrow I'm in the mood of that. When one of my children, and I hope they don't remember this, was very, very young. They probably don't. I think they were like 3 years old. So we were playing one Shabbat afternoon by the meal or whatever. We were sitting by the meal and we were playing, so whatever it was, joking around. And the kid told me, Daddy, I love you. No, felt good, right? Everybody wants to hear the kids tell me that. 20 minutes after the meal, he wanted me to take him to the park. It was scorching hot. I was tired. I had no patience. I'm not going to lie. A combination of the two reasons I told him, we'll go after 5 o'clock when it's not so sunny. I hate you. So I told him, which one is it? Do you love me or do you hate me? Before you said you love me. So he said, it depends on how you behave. So he thought, depends on how you behave. Otherwise known as, I love myself. Now if you're going to do whatever I want, so I'm going to tell you also I love you, because that's a good way to bribe you to do the next thing. If you're not going to do whatever I want, so then I hate you, fine. Which one does he mean? Neither one. But when that story happened that afternoon, I went into bed, but I didn't fall asleep, because my mind always races. I'm always thinking. I said, Hashem just sent me such a wake-up call. There's some days we wake up and we feel such ahavat Hashem. Oh, unbelievable. Rebbeinu Shalom, I love you. And the other days that everything is going wrong, nothing's going right. Whatever we do is, and when it's chas v'shalom to say it, but that's the way we feel. God, I hate you. What is this? What's going on? Why? What? It's not fair. I can't. And what's Hashem doing in Shamayim? He's laughing. He says, one day you love me, the next day you hate me, the next day this, next that. That's because of your mood swings. No? Fine, one day you'll grow up, you'll get a mood stabilizer, you'll be better, everything will be okay. Suddenly you'll realize it's not so bad after all. Based on this comes Rav Horowitz and says, why does the Torah say, Nasot bnei Gershom gam hem? It's an unbelievable thing, Dvar Pele. You have to dance and sing from such a pshat. He says, Ger is a foreigner, right? Ger v'toshav anochi imachem. Toshav is someone who dwells somewhere, Ger is somebody who's foreign. Ligaresh, gareshet ben ha'amazot, for example, in the pasuk, means to throw away. That's even worse than a foreigner. That's somebody who's pushed away completely. It says Gershom really is a name that was given because of being in a foreign land, but also it's the ultimate. It's not only foreign, you're foreign and pushed far. It's like 2 strikes against you. Comes the Torah and says, Nasoet bnei Gershom gam hem. We just had Kabbalat Torah. And there's some people after Kabbalat Torah feel, I'm not a yeshiva boy. So I went to shul, I ate cheesecake, I gained some weight, whatever, very nice, but it's not for me. I did it because it's a mitzvah, but I have no connection. Now, Soet bnei Gershom, take the people that feel like they're pushed away. Gam hem, those also, make sure you lift them up. Make sure those are lifted up, and that's the test if the Kabbalat Torah is a real Kabbalat Torah or not. And on this I want to say a very famous mashal from Dubna Magid, Zechat Tzadik Levracha, Zchutei Again Aleinu. And the Magid says, unbelievable mashal. I think this is a little bit famous, this mashal. Chavetz Chaim says the same exact mashal. He was mechaven without quoting. But there were a couple of the tiny details he switched. But the idea is the same. There were 2 brothers that one was in business and one was in kollel. No? The business guy, at least in this world, looks like he was rich. The kollel guy, at least in this world, looked like he was poor. In reality, it's the opposite. The business guy is poor. He has nothing. The kollel guy at least has something he's going to take with him. But in the shallow eye, without being smart, that's the way it looks. Their father lived in Binat Hayam, somewhere else. They had another sister. Pshat Tova, one day, they both get phone calls, Mabruk, great news. His sister's getting engaged. The father tells the rich brother, when he breaks him the news, he says, listen, your brother in Cole is poor. He doesn't have the means to fly out with his family and to buy clothes and all the expenses that it takes to come to a wedding and that. Make sure he has what he needs. So this brother tells his father, Dad, no problem, I'll do it, but who's paying the bill, you or me? Why do I have to pay? It's not my son, I don't have to support him. The father says, of course, not only am I paying his bills, I'm making another wedding. I'm paying yours also. Buy whatever you want, do whatever you want. Everything you do, just give me the invoice when you land, all on me. Now you tell a guy who's poor to go buy whatever he wants, what's he going to buy? He's going to go to Walmart and buy a t-shirt. What does he know already? You tell a guy who's rich, go buy whatever you want, and they walk into Saks, just the first bag already is 30 grand before we started. And then we need new shoes, and new this, and new that, and new. So according to the Musagim, it's a kid, give him a piece of gum that costs less than a penny. He's the happiest kid in the world. The kid turned 16, the same kid, give him a leased car for $200 a month, and not $400 a month. He's upset at his parents why they didn't get him a nice car. What changed? The more you musagim, your concepts get bigger, so the more it takes to satisfy them. That's why Chazal say, Ein adam met, nobody dies, v'chatzit ahavato biyado. They don't even feel half the pleasure they need in life. Nobody's ever satisfied. Everybody always says, I don't, I'm missing. So, the rich brother calls the poor brother and he tells him, buddy, dad said, there's a wedding, whatever you want, just go buy, don't worry, here's my credit card, swipe as you need. And dad's repaying, don't worry about it. The brother goes, buys a few clothing, it should be normal, or this, or that, the basics, whatever he needed, whatever he knew to buy. The rich boy already went on a nice shopping spree. He did what he had to do, came to buy tickets. To call a guy, what does he know? So he went, he looked for some discount airline, low-cost airline, and, certain airlines you have to say a bunch of brachot when you go on them. Let's say you fly Spirit. So, hey, I don't want to be sued, but that's, I'll tell you what I think anyway. Before you go on the plane, you have to say Mishanei Abriot. They have a weird way to take things that used to be planes and still call them planes. And if you get off alive, you have to definitely say Mechayim Etim, HaGomel and Sudat Odaya. And once I said that in a class in Florida, Miami Beach, and somebody told me, you're such a spoiled baby, what's the big deal? So when he said that, so I told him, you know what? Next time I come to Miami, which was the next week, when I come back, I'll fly Spirit. Just to show you that I'm not spoiled. Okay. He says, I'm paying. I said, pay. He bought me a ticket. I said, but do me a favor, don't buy a round trip ticket. Just in case I change my mind. Shouldn't be a double waste of money. Buy one way. We'll see how it goes the way there, then we'll decide the way back. And I want to admit, Spirit flies out of Atlantic City Airport, which is much closer to Lakewood than the other airports. Parking's free. You could practically park right near the gate. It's unreal. The experience was good. I pull right up, walk in, security is 2 seconds, get onto the plane. I think they have something called big front seats. I guess he thought I was overweight. He got me a big seat, and everything was perfect. So he's proving right. I was almost convinced that that's it. This is my new thing. I'm going to join the $9 fare club. $9 fare club. Right? If an airline makes a $9, fine. We get onto the plane, good filas haderech, and the plane takes off. It wasn't even 40 seconds into the flight, probably 10 seconds into the flight. We're not even at the altitude of 100 feet. There's a big bang, and there's flames coming out of one of the engines. Like Southwest had somebody who got sucked out of a window for a similar type of story. Flames coming out, emergency landing 5 minutes later with a whole mess and everything. And I called the guy and said, what do? I'm stuck in Atlantic City Airport, and the only thing Spirit has to offer me is a fire truck right now. How do I get to Miami now? And then that was the last time I dealt with them. But that, it was all over. But no, I have no interest. I'm not working as a consultant for another airline. It doesn't make a difference. But there is such a musag, right? You get what you pay for in life. The Kolel guy, what does he know? Low cost. So he went and bought himself a low cost. Now they have a low cost to Israel. I don't remember what it's called. But it goes from, it goes from Newark. It costs like $300, something like that. Do you have to stick in $1 in order to use the restroom? I'm not sure how it works. It's, that's the trend, right? No? Low cost means we'll find other ways to make it much more high cost. But anyway, the other brother says, Dad's paying anyway while we fly. Private jet. Charters, no problem. And like this, everything along the whole process goes out. They both come to the wedding. It's a beautiful wedding night. Everything's good. Sheva, brachot, Shabbat, Chata. Gorgeous. father's a rich man, throws a party like nobody's ever seen. They end the whole party. They're about to leave. This brother has his private jet waiting for him. He's going to go with his family. He goes to his dad, gives him a big hug and kiss. Thanks for having us. It was so beautiful. We're so happy for our sister. Blah, blah. A great boy. And what a nice brother-in-law. I'm on my way. The father says, great. Have a safe trip home. Safe trip home? Where's my money? So he gently tells his father, Dad, you might have forgotten, but you remember you told me all the expenses you're going to reimburse? And he hands him like a whole book of papers there. Here's the total, the spreadsheet. Please reimburse me. His father said, I never said I'll pay you back. He said, Dad, you're the most honest person in the world, right? I don't think you're lying. So maybe you forgot. I'll remind you of the conversation. It was on this day, right when before she got engaged. He says, no, I remember we had a conversation on the subject, but I never told you I would pay you. He said, you did. He said, no, I said I would pay you for anything that you do to honor your sister's wedding. Not for anything that you do to honor yourself. So if you would have bought your brother the same thing as you bought you, and you would have taken your brother on the same private plane that you flew, and you would have done everything for your brother the same as you, that means you did it to honor me in the wedding. So then I would have reimbursed you for everything. But the fact that your brother, you just dumped him with a credit card and he didn't know what to do with it, and he came with almost nothing, and you came like some billionaire, means what you did was to honor yourself. That I never committed to pay for. Comes the Dubno Magid and says, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to test a person if he's a tzaddik or a rasha, he doesn't go weighing. In school they taught us there's a scale of some sort, and he weighs the mitzvot on one side and the averot on the other side. He said, oh, that's nice. But there's something that comes way before that. You first got to get to the scale. Then we see about that. He says that he looks and he does, what do you do for yourself? And what do you do for Klal Yisrael? If you're a person of Klal Yisrael, you did for everybody. So then that means that you're a person who be'etzem is a b'no shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is a son of God. And you considered all Jews sons of God, and everybody's equal before God. And at that point, your life was a life of Kvod Shamayim. So even if the scale didn't weigh out, what do? They go take all the other Jews' mitzvot, they put it on your mitzvot side of the scale, and automatically you're in good shape. Because between all the Jews, you got enough mitzvot to outdo your averot. But if you're a person that everything revolves around you and your opinion and your thoughts, me, li oriv ani asitini, that's what Paro said. The Nile belongs to me and I created myself, otherwise known as he thought he was God. Unfortunately today there's some people that are Orthodox Jews that think that way. They think that their way is right, nobody else is right. Me. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, okay, so now let's figure it out. Let's see what your story is. Let's see what you're holding in life. And then, oy vavoy, Yom Hadin is not a joke. A person has no way out. So the first eitzah, the first piece of advice that a person can take for himself in order to get a huge chizuk and a huge step towards Borei Olam in life is naso et shpnei Gershom gam heim. Make sure that you're a Jew that lives a life of gam heim, of even the Gershom, even the one that was secluded, that was thrown out, that was the person that was the outcast. Make sure even him you bring closer. Even he's part of it. Even he's part of Klal Yisrael. That's an extremely, extremely important yesod that obviously in different contexts we speak about all the time, but it was so applicable because of last week's parasha. But it's more applicable even with this week's parasha. Ba'alotcha et hanerot amu pnei hamnorah ya'iru shivat hanerot. Ba'alotcha et hanerot, Chazal learn out, there's a halacha, Rashi also brings it down, that when the Kohen lights a candle, and we from there learn for ourselves in Ilchot Chanukah, it's also brought down in the poskim, such a thing to do. When you light the candle on Chanukah, you don't just put the match there for 1 second and pull it away. You hold it for a substantial amount of time. Why? You wait until the whole wick flares up, right? You remember from Chanukah, it was a long time ago, I know, but that's the way it's done. The whole Klal Yisrael does that. Where does this come from? From this. Shtehei shalhevet olam me'eileha. That the wick should burn on its own. What's the idea behind it? So it says in Sfarim HaKadoshim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes to Aaron HaKohen and tells him, V'alotcha et hanerot. When you light the candles, make sure shetehei shalhevet olah beineh. When you put in a spark into a Jew, make sure it should be that later on this spark will flare up on its own within him. That you instill in him a capsule of love that's so great that it can be something that can burst forever. Now I want to tell you a chiddush that just came to my mind. It probably says it in the Sfarim, but it just came to my head. And I think over here there's a sharp one. And this might answer a lot of other people's personal psychiatric issues. The negative campaign. Aaron came to God and he had an issue. That everybody got, all the Nisim got all these korbanot, right? If you read last week's parasha, it was a long one, right? Each guy's korbanot, the whole, and we read each one again and again. You have to one day explain that, but we're already late in the game to explain that now. For next year, we know that. By then, hopefully, Mashiach will explain it to us. But over and over again, this one korbanot is this one, and the korbanot are the same idea what's going on. And we repeat everything over and over and over and over, time and time and time again. I don't felt, the Kohanim felt a little gypped. There was no whole list of korbanot that they brought. And Chazal say, Chalsha da'ato, they had like a, well, why didn't we have the merit to do this mitzvah? Everybody had all these merits to do all these mitzvah. We didn't get it. Why didn't we get it? They felt bad. Chalsha da'ato, chalishut da'at, a bad feeling inside. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, don't worry. You guys have to light the menorah. Chayecha, I promise you that shelcha gadol mishaleim, shatam adliku meitiv tanirot. That yours is greater than everybody because you get to light the candles. What type of answer is that? They brought korbanot, many different sacrifices over many days in many different contexts. And here he tells them you're going to light candles. And what was the answer? There's a deeper answer here. So in the Rishonim it says, including in the Ramban a little bit, that really over there he was telling him that korbanot is something that's only bizman shebeit hamikdash kayam in its entire context. But at a time the Beit Mikdash is not kayam, we don't bring korbanot. The menorah is something that's going to be eternal. Why is it going to be eternal? Because Chanukah is going to replace the lighting of the menorah. Chanukah we observe every year, but not only that. Chazal say, Kol ha'moadot atidim litbatel, all the holidays in the context that we know that one day won't exist, except for Purim and Chanukah, that's one gilsa at least in that Chazal. They will last forever. So Shelcha Gadol Mishalem, yours is greater, because theirs has an expiration date. Yours doesn't have an expiration date. It goes on and on. No, what's going on over here? There's two ways to bring somebody closer to Hashem. Today there's only one way. But the people used to think there's two ways. One way is korbanot, it's to slaughter them. The world's coming to an end, Iran's going to blow the world up, or this, or that. Sounds good, sounds holy, no? Kedusha, holiness, huh? Sounds good. Aaron was Ohev Shalom v'rodef Shalom. Ohev et habriot, he loved the creation of Mekalvan la Torah, and he brought him closer to Torah. Chalsha da'ato, he said, Rebbeinu Shalom, I'm not like that. I'm not here slaughtering people's heads off. So maybe my way is wrong. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, Chayecha shelcha gadol mishalahem, yours is the greatest one. Because yours is going to last forever. Them is going to last for a day and a half. Somebody told me last night in Israel, said when he was in school, they told him that if he's going to turn on a light on Shabbat, the Torah says, Mechalelei amot yumat. Somebody does Chilul Shabbat will die. He says, today he drives on Shabbat. I said, why? I said, well, you have anything against Shabbat? He says, no. I said, why? He says, the fact that when I turn on the car, I don't blow up. Obviously, God has no problem with it. That's the problem with all those idiots, that's the way they give over the Torah and the scare tactic. Because the day the kid tries and sees nothing happen, everything's okay, so then it's all over. Everything he learned his whole life goes to the garbage in 3 seconds. Chayecha, you want to know which one is great? You want to know which one's actually going to work? You want to know which one's going to last? Which one's going to hold up in a moment of truth? Shelcha gadol mishalahem, to light the menorah, to flare up a Jew, is so much greater. Why? Because that falls under the criteria we just said. Naso et rosh bnei Gershom gam hem. You should elevate the lives and the spirits and everything else of the people of Bnei Gershom in a great way, in order to help them be better people. And now I want to end off with 2 stories. I really brought this sefer because over here I had a beautiful idea that I wanted to say. I didn't end up using it because we didn't have the time. Next week. It's a good sefer, by the way. I like encouraging people to buy Sfarim, so we put it for the camera. It's called Hineni Biyadcha. It's even subsidized. It doesn't cost that much money in the store. And it's a beautiful, beautiful sefer. And it's on the subject of Emunah, and everybody can use Chizuk for Emunah. And it's written by a very, very big Talmid Chacham, Rav Yaakov Yagen, who put out many, many Sfarim. So just from the amount of Sfarim that he put out over the years, he has to know a whole lot of learning, and he writes very well too. It's only in Hebrew so far, not in English, but hopefully they translated emergency, because there's a sefer that should be all over the place. It's an amazing sefer, and it was subsidized. A friend of mine subsidized the print of it, so it should be cheap, and everybody should be able to. Today, sometimes you want to go learn, you want to buy a sefer, you go into the store, $30. You don't have an extra $30, you're a college student. They say, forget it, what should I do? I can't have it. That's why it's so beautiful when this farim that are subsidized and cost only $5, $6, $7 that everybody could buy them. It's something that everybody could afford, because it helps people actually learn. And it's a lot more productive to learn from a sefer than to learn from a phone. Not that I'm saying not to learn from a phone, but because a phone, you also sometimes text Lashon Hara and do other things. It's not so pure. At least the sefer stays pure. So the Kedushat Torah from a sefer is so much greater. And soon, what are our kids going to know? They'll never know that there was such a thing as learning from a Gemara anymore, because everything's today digital. So it's good for that also, by the way. But anyway, that was stam, because I like encouraging people to buy good Sivan that I see. And any new sefer that comes out, either somebody gives me or I buy almost. And some of them are really good. And this one is a grand slam. Next. Here's your 2 stories to take home. And with this, I wish you a good week. I haven't been home all week, so it would be nice to go home. Yeah, I was here in Queens Sunday, right? And I spoke somewhere here in Queens. And then Baruch Hashem, we had a simcha suntan. One of our girls got engaged. And then from there to the airport, to the Hilulah of my uncle Rav Nissim. And then from there to 2 places in Europe. And then back here. All in a matter of a couple of days, so yeah, I miss my children, so you'll forgive me. But one way or the other, there's a parable that the Sefer Chassidut bring down. This is not, I don't know who, because I didn't see it inside. I read this in an article that this Rabbi Horowitz wrote, and he didn't quote where the source is. So maybe the source is himself. A lot of times he does that when he wants to write something and he wants to cover up, so he just doesn't write where it's from. But he said when they invented the train, so it was like a big deal, because suddenly transportation that would take so long became, even at the early stages of a train, was quicker. Second of all, freight was the biggest benefit, because when they would have to transport freight, there's only that much that a horse and wagon can get you, weight-wise. A train, suddenly you're able to put so much more weight. One of the benefits of an efficient transportation system, and that's why governments around the world invest billions and billions of dollars a year in infrastructure, is if it's convenient for a tourist to land somewhere, the probability of him doing so is a lot higher. If an airport, for example, in our terms today is inconvenient, the probability of somebody going to that place is a lot less. Like if you have to pick if to fly out of LaGuardia these days or not, 9 out of 10 times you'll say no, even if it's cheaper. Why? Because they're in the middle of doing some massive renovation and there's nowhere to park and it's a pain in the neck and everything's delayed and the whole thing's a mess and it's inconvenient. Convenience. So the more convenient we make something, the more accessible we make something, it just, infrastructure brings tourism. And that's the way it is. Cities that have big trains and high-speed trains that go through them, their rate of tourism is multiple times higher than rural towns upstate New York. Why? Because the convenience of getting somewhere on a train in an hour, so you don't think twice, you just go. It's easier to get there and go have a good time. If now you're going to have to get into a car and drive 4 hours and you won't find it and this and that, now you already think 10 times before you do it. That's just the nature of the world. So every town wanted to have a train running through it, number one, for their own people, number two, for commercial reasons, business, and number three, because it would also help the local economy by bringing in tourists. One day, the mayor of one of the old cities in whatever village or city or whatever goes to the person in charge. He tells him, listen, you're running train tracks anyway, we're not so far from where you are. Maybe consider that the train should pass through our city. So the guy tells him, listen, I'm just an employee. You're talking to the wrong guy. The king decides, or the ruler, or whatever, he decides. Got to go to him. Makes a meeting with him. He goes to him, gives him all this respect. Adoni Yakar, master, do me a favor. They're running train tracks anyway. Maybe there's a way to work it out. It should go through us. It's not so much off the way. It'll be a big help to our local town on many fronts. Guy tells him, sure, you got it. Signs a piece of paper, orders, they should make a train. Takes whatever it takes, a couple of years. They build a train and it goes through that city. La Yehudi Ma'itaura, what a simcha. No, they have a train, it's so much more convenient, so much easier. It's good on every front. Now this guy who had the original request said the least I could do is go say thank you to the ruler that agreed to make it go through our town. But he's an old-fashioned guy and he doesn't know how to adapt to changes. So he goes and he takes a horse and buggy and travels for 3 days and gets to the ruler's home and makes a meeting with him and goes in and brings him a beautiful gift from his town with a plaque and a thank you letter and everything, and tells him, "Sir, thank you so much for the train." The guy's so happy. He says, "I'm happy to hear that it did well for you and that. Great. It's in the country's best interest." And then he's escorting him out because he's going to go back home. And the ruler sees that he's getting onto a horse and buggy. He pulls the guy and he says, "What's all your gifts and your thank yous for? What are you, stupid? I built you a train to use, not to look at. Why didn't you come with the train now?" The whole reason why we built the train was so it should be quicker and easier and more pleasant. And you, the head of the city, went and took a horse and buggy the old primitive way and spent 3 days instead of doing it quickly? Because that means you don't know what you got at all. So I wasted my time and money by putting a train through it. So the train's not made to look at. The train's actually made to use. Comes up forward and says, unbelievable Musar skill from this. He says, the idea of Nasoet Rosh B'nei Gershom Gam Heim is not just stam to be nice. Being nice, of course, that's a simple value, but nice we have to be to all people, all mankind, Jewish or non, it makes no difference. A person should be nice, that's it, case closed. Nasoet Rosh B'nei Gershom Gam Heim is to give people the opportunity to realize what they got. We have a much more sophisticated way of living life that can better your quality of life by so much on a daily basis. So don't leave it as something that's theoretical. That, okay, there's the Kolo guys and then there's me, I don't open a book ever. Now, you're just like any other guy. There's no difference between you and him. Just like he could learn, you could learn. Just like he could daven, you could daven. Just like he could be close to Hashem, you could be close to Hashem. We're all equal in front of Hashem. And that would be a big chizuk to actually take something out of it to grow. And here's my last story of the night, which was really the title of the class. Yeah, you saw a flyer with like a yellow cab theme. So let me tell you about not a yellow cab. In Israel, the cabs are white. But a yellow cover. The Israeli version of Lyft that's not there, or Uber that's there but not used, the one that they use is called Get Taxi. They used to be in Manhattan too. They were just merged with a company called Juno. If you want a cab in Israel, so that's how you do it. There's no you go on to Get Taxi. When I landed in Israel, I knew I was going to be there just for very few hours in total, and to waste time going to a car rental in the airport, wait until they decide to process your paperwork, get the car, go, drive, then on the way back also have to return the car. It's a lot of extra time. So if you're there for a week, fine, but when you're there for a few hours, there's no extra time. So you activate Get Taxi. And like this, whenever you need, you go from place to place. And by the way, financially, it also comes out the same pretty much. Because on short trips, the rental cost is so high and the limitation of mileage is so strict that it's not even a luxury at that point. I get there at night, spend some time with my daughter, I go to sleep, I wake up in the morning, and we were going to go to Rav Nissim's cave together. And we're in the lobby of the hotel that I was staying in Jerusalem, and we're having this discussion about faith. And part of the discussion about faith was what a big Baal Emunah Rav Nissim was. Nissim had Emunah, and that we hear stories of generations ago, 500 years ago maybe, if not more. Rav Nissim's Emunah, a lot of it, I don't know for sure, but I just know based on what he used to say over in his speeches, came a lot, like his first big push to realize that Hashem is active in every step in life, came a lot from his beginning of his road when he returned to Derech Hashem. I said this last year openly, and I'm not going to repeat the whole details because it's a waste of time, but just in 2 sentences. Rav Nissim was very young. He learned in an Ashkenaz yeshiva in Israel. After a couple of years of learning in the yeshiva, he got an aliyah in the yeshiva for the first time. He's a Sephardi boy. He got up and he said the blessing for the aliyah with Sephardic pronunciation. The Rosh Yeshiva came out with him after Shacharit and told him, in my yeshiva I don't want francs, and he threw him out. Literally, that's what happened. And he was very hurt and embarrassed and whatever, and that's how he ended up in the army. That cost him his Yiddishkeit. Cost him his Judaism. That's what happened. Today, maybe we try to cover it up, whatever, but that's what happened. That's what went wrong along the way. And before he went to the army, but he was still too young, so he enlisted, whatever, but he had to go to Kdam Tzvai just to be old enough to be able to go to the army. So he went to a place in Beit Vagan, which was really meant as somewhat of a kiruv school, I guess, but it was also qualified as a Kdam Tzvai. It was called Kiryat Noar. It still exists still today. Maybe some of you guys get mailings for charity from them. Very, very beautiful place. They do unbelievable work. And when he was in Kiryat Noar, he had left Judaism pretty much completely. The pain and the resentment for what happened to him and the humiliation that he's been through in exactly the place that was supposed to be a safe haven, the yeshiva, killed him. And one day, he was going through internal battles. An ex-yeshiva boy is never going to be happy. Yesterday, the Israeli Ministry of Health, I saw this on the second news channel in Israel, I think now it's called 12 instead of 2, but it used to be 2, had a thing from the Ministry of Health. At the vast majority of suicides in Israel, believe it or not, is not Arabs. It's not poor people that live in random towns or whatever. It's ex-yeshiva boys. Because deep down they know there's Hashem, and deep down they know that what they're doing is wrong, and their battle of guilt is so great that they can't live with themselves. And their emptiness, because they once felt what it means to have a full life, a life of Torah, they can't live with themselves. So some go to drugs and this and that, but at a certain point it catches up with them, and others just kill themselves. But one way or the other. And this is not coming from a Yeshiva World website. It's the second channel news in Israel bringing from the Israeli Ministry of Health. That's the vast majority. It's a crazy thing. Now what's that population in Israel? It's not only that that's the vast majority. If you do the statistic calculation, it's insane. In the whole Israel is 161,000 and change yeshiva boys, including college students and. Out of those, how many already end up in this situation? Let's say 5% Lo Aleinu, or 10%, something like that. So we're talking about maybe 16,000 people out of a country of 8 million people. So out of the suicides of 8 million people, 16,000 statistically is suddenly magnified many, many times over. Do the mathematics in your head. And they're still the majority. It's a frightening fact. But the reason behind it is because that internal battle. Once a person has a certain satisfaction in life. So Rav Nissim had an amazing thing with him. That one day he was in Kiryat Noar, he was going through this thing back and forth inside, Hashem, not Hashem, this, that. He was going through a big war inside. And again, he did something. I'm not telling you you're allowed to do this. I'm not telling you you should do it. I don't want anybody to get wrong ideas. But actually, if you want to hear something funny, one of the famous speakers, I don't know if he's going to be so happy that I say his name, so I'll be nice in the meantime, texted me this week. It was one of my cutest texts I got in a while. He says, Yaakov, do me a favor on Thursday night, say something controversial, because that gives me material for next week. Nah, but he never learned normal. He has nothing to do for himself, so he has to be able to bash me. It's like this. Say something controversial, give me material for next week. I told him, no problem. Every week there's something to talk about. He says, I'm one of your most avid listeners. I said, I wonder why. That's what I wrote back to him. So I'm going to be careful this week. Sorry, buddy, I'm not feeding you material this week. So I don't know if Al Pi Halacha you could or can't do it. That's not my subject. He tells God, he says, God, I was taught that you exist. In reality, at this point in my life, I don't feel that you exist. So I need you to show me that you exist. He's having a dialogue with God. Young kid outside of a high school in Beit Vagan. He says, now I'm going to my mother. He was going home to visit his mother. It was Friday. If you exist and you want to show yourself to me, when I get on the bus, I want to see so-and-so, one of his cousins. That cousin lives in a different town at all. So he said. He gets onto the bus, he pays the bus driver, he sits on the second row, and who's sitting one seat behind him? This cousin. I would have passed out, honestly. That would have been the end of me. You would think that with that he was done. No. He said the story over himself. You could hear it on the recordings. He said it in many, many shiur. He got off the bus the next stop, waited 10 minutes, and said, God, once is a coincidence. That doesn't count. When the next bus comes, I'm going on the bus, and I want to see the same cousin. What do you mean the same cousin? That cousin stayed on the bus. He got off the bus. That makes no sense. He waits, the bus comes, he gets on the bus. He says he didn't even get a chance to pay, and he's looking around the bus, and he sees his cousin over there on the bus. He goes over to him and says, weren't you just on another bus? He said, yeah, don't ask. Right after you got off, a couple of feet later, I realized that I forgot something or whatever in my house. I got off, I ran home, and I ran back to make the next bus. At that point, I would have said enough is enough, right? He said, God, in the Torah, when I was in yeshiva, I learned that until 3 times it doesn't count. 3 is a chazakah. He gets off again. And when he gets off again, he says, God, I'm going to wait for the next bus, and I want to see the same cousin the 3rd time. Little did he realize when he got off, the cousin got off. And when he comes back to wait for the next bus, he didn't even have to get on the bus. He sees the cousin waiting for the same bus. And he said that was the moment that he said, Hashem, enough. Hashem Elokim, I'm not playing with fire anymore. Enough is enough. I think it's even written in one of the Sfarim that we wrote. So I was discussing this with him, I mentioned it. That was before we were going to the kibbutz. I told him, you see Emunah, if you really want to look for it, I said, I'm not saying this is the way to do it, but if you look for Hashem, you'll find him everywhere. If you don't look for Hashem, you'll never see him anyway. I said, and now we're going to daven by a tzaddik and that. And if Hashem wants to show us, because I had a big dilemma if it was the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do to go to Israel because of many, many other obligations I had here and many other reasons why I had not to go. If Hashem wants to show us that we're doing the right thing and this is something that he wants, he'll already send us a messenger. We'll figure it out. We'll see him and we'll see God live. Just like Uncle Nissim said, God. I go on to get taxi, I put in the hotel that I'm in, going to Har HaMenuchot, and that's it. Now just so you appreciate the story, I want to give you a little background. Our family name is Yagen, but Yagen is a family name, if you look in Jewish history, it doesn't really exist. There's no such name. We came from Syria, we had an Arabic family name, and my grandfather came way before the Zionists had a country. In 1929, he came through Turkey from Syria to Israel, and in 1948, they pretty much told him that if you want a Tudat Zehut and that, tzarich la'avret et Hashem shelcha, they told him. You have to have a more Hebrew name. Many people, the majority of the people then had other names than they have today. So he said, so what name should I have? He said something in Hebrew. And he said the first thing that came to his mind was Yagen. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yagen Aleichem, HaKadosh Yagen Aleinu. So he said Yagen. Yagen means to be protected. And that's where the name Yagen was invented. But really it's it's a gimmick. So we have no relatives, Yagen obviously, because it's not a name. So we're not going to, in our real name we have relatives plenty. But in this, we just don't have relatives in Israel. I pressed to get taxi, search, and then they give you a message. L'tza'areinu lo nitan lazmin monit ket, we're sorry, we can't find you a taxi now. So I was going to go to one of the drivers waiting outside the hotel and tell him to take me. One driver, sorry, I can't take you, I'm waiting for somebody. Second driver, sorry, I can't take you, and there's no third to ask. It's a hot day, go outside, wait, flag a cab, hope somebody stops you. In Jerusalem, and 65% of the drivers are Arabs at all. My preference is to give Jews parnasah. So I said, okay, let's try get taxi again. So I go on to get taxi, I put in get mahadrin, that way you're going to get a Jew. He says somebody's blocking with his car and people are trying to get out. Eize auto im רוצים לדעת? White. Mazel tov. Anyway, so I go up, put get mahadrin, so like this I know I get a Jewish driver. Click. Not even 10 seconds later, it pops up, somebody's coming. Now, I didn't pay attention. I was just happy to see somebody's coming. But then, like 2-3 minutes went by and he didn't come yet. I wanted to see how long it's going to take. We're already standing outside for a while. Round 1, there was nobody. Asking drivers, nobody. Well, at least 10 minutes outside already. Enough if you want a driver. So I take my phone out because it gives you the location, just like Uber. How long is it going to take for the driver to get there? And I get the shock of my life. You know what the driver's name is? I have a screenshot of it. If you don't believe, you're welcome to come over and see. Yaakov Yagen. You think we're done? The story gets better. We go inside to the car and I tell him, dude, you know what my name is? Yaakov Yagen. There's no such name. How is this possible? He says, what do you mean? I don't know. My grandfather changed his name. Well, my great-grandfather, not my grandfather. My great-grandfather changed it to a Hebrew name. I said, yeah, where'd you live? He says, I lived in an area in Jerusalem called Nachlaot when I was a young kid. My father grew up in an area in Jerusalem called Nachlaot. I said, what's your father's name? He said, now this is getting weird. Why are you asking? I said, I have a reason. He said, so I'll ask you, what's your father's name? I said, my father's name is Yosef. He tells me my father's name is Yosef too. I said, I don't believe you. He says, I'll show it to you. I tell him, how many kids do you have? He says, 4. I said, how many boys and girls? 3 boys and 1 girl. I said, guess what? Here's my daughter, Aska. I have 3 boys and 1 girl. I said, what's your oldest son's name? He says, Yosef. I said, my oldest son's name is Yosef too. Thank you very much. You just taught us a great lesson in faith. That when God wants to show you that He's there in everything, He says, even in your cab driver, I'm there to show you and to give you the chizuk that you need. Because Baruch Hu should help that we should see and feel Hashem in every single way. And it's a crazy story. The probability of that is 0. And I'm very grateful to this Yaakov Yagen. I told him I'll make him a celebrity. And one day if you're in Jerusalem, you want to hire a cab, I have his phone number. You could call Yaakov Yagen and use his services. He's a great driver with a great car. Enjoy. Have a good night, guys.